Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to raise a really important issue, one that reflects not just a housing crisis, but a crisis of fairness, compassion and accountability involving the relocation of homeless families outside of London. Madam Deputy Speaker, at first glance it may seem unusual for someone like myself as a Member of Parliament from County Durham, some 250 miles away from London, to be seeking this debate. However, the unlawful actions of some London Borough Councils has transformed an issue of homelessness in London into a national crisis, and one that has now reached directly into my constituency. In recent months, I've been made aware of multiple cases of vulnerable families being pressured into relocating to my constituency by London boroughs such as Redbridge, Hillingdon and Enfield. Madam Deputy Speaker, these families are being forced to choose between homelessness in London or moving hundreds of miles away, isolated from their communities and support networks. If I may highlight a recent case involving a young mother being threatened and coerced by Hillingdon Borough Council to move to County Durham. In an email to her housing officer she wrote, and I quote, "Now I am scared. I feel anxious and completely pushed into a corner that if I don't take this accommodation," this is in County Durham, "I will be discharged from your books and made homeless. I don't understand why you are doing this to me and my son. All I wanted was your help in finding a place, as you have put me in temporary accommodation in Slough, and then you rang me today offering a place in County Durham, miles away from anyone and everything I know. You said I have to give you my decision by tomorrow, or I must get out of the place I'm in, be discharged from the council's books, sleep on a friend's sofa and look after myself. How is this fair? Like I said, I am scared." I'll give way to the honourable gentleman from my honourable friend from Strangford.
Madam Deputy Speaker, first of all, can I commend the Honourable Member for Easington for bringing this forward? He's absolutely right. But not only is this happening in London and those boroughs, it's happening in Northern Ireland and my constituency as well. I'll give you an example. A person was moved. The current system means uprooting children from their schools, placing them in temporary homes too far away to meet at work, such as in my own constituency, where a child schooled in the Ards Peninsula was moved to Enniskillen, 3 hours away from their family, away from their friends, away from the schools. I mean, it really doesn't stack up. When it comes to the educational needs of children, must be taken into account and they must be paramount. Does the Honourable Gentleman agree?
I'd like to thank the Honourable Gentleman for that intervention, and that the whole purpose of this debate is that the actions of some local authorities, not all, is in fact illegal, and they should be subject to some sanctions, and I hope we're going to hear a little more from the Minister at the end of the debate. My question is, Madam Deputy Speaker, is it right that a young mother and a child are threatened with homelessness if she refuses to uproot her life and leave the community where she was born, raised, grew up and has lived all her life? There was no consideration of her needs, the welfare of her child, their health or needs to maintain family and support networks.
Would the Honourable Gentleman
I'll give way to my honourable friend, the member for the City of Durham.
I'd like to thank the Honourable Gentleman and constituency neighbour for giving way, because this has also happened in my constituency. And does he agree with me that these councils, the way they are acting is actually inhumane? To uproot people's lives, to relocate them into places unknown and often into properties with not even the basic amenities. And does he agree that this needs to stop?
I'm grateful for that intervention from my honourable friend, and I completely agree. You know, this isn't care, this is coercion. Homelessness is an ever-present spectre of our time. According to a survey by The Big Issue, 2/3 of private renters are worried about paying their rent and the potential adverse consequences for their housing situation. It's a time of desperate need. People should be able to trust their local authority to provide advice and support, but what do they find? A system where families, in some cases, are being threatened and intimidated, pressured to make impossible life-changing decisions in a moment of profound vulnerability.
Would you like?
I will give way very briefly to the Honourable Gentleman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And can I also congratulate the Honourable Member for raising this important debate. He talks about the numbers of people who are vulnerable. In my constituency in War Forest, we discovered that there were so many people being moved out of Brent to Birmingham that Birmingham filled up and they had to come to Kidderminster as well. So this is a huge problem that's been going on a long time and absolutely tragic for those families who are being separated from their family networks, from their friendship networks and from the possibilities of getting jobs.
Thank the Honourable Gentleman for that intervention. I'm not suggesting this is a problem that only affects Easington or County Durham, but I'm trying to highlight that it is an illegal practice. If you'll allow me, I'll come to that. And I'm hoping to persuade the Minister that there should be some redress and some sanction against those local authorities who are breaking the law. Because this question, my honourable friend said it's immoral. It's certainly questionable, this practice, but in fact it's unlawful. In 2015, a Supreme Court judgment is absolutely clear, and I'm quoting from it, and it says, Madam Deputy Speaker, local authorities have a statutory duty to provide accommodation in their own area so far as reasonably practicable. The accommodation must be suitable to the needs of the homeless person and each member of the household, and the location can be relevant to its sustainability. The obligation to secure accommodation as close as possible to where the household had previously been living was strengthened by supplementary guidance on the homeless changes in the Localism Act 2011 and on the Homeless Sustainability of Accommodation England Order 2012. This supplementary guidance, including the need to seek to retain established links with schools, doctors, social workers and other key and support services. Madam Deputy Speaker, how is it possible to retain established links to key services and support when a family is located to an unfamiliar location over 250 miles away? It's also important to note there is a requirement under Section 208 of the Housing Act 1996 that where someone is relocated out of area, councils must notify the receiving local authority. However, Madam Deputy Speaker, this isn't happening. In response to representations from myself, Durham County Council, my local authority, responded as follows. We are aware of some households moving into County Durham with financial assistance from London boroughs, largely discharging their homeless duties into private rented tenancies. Placements tend to be in selective licensing areas through a small number of managing agents, notably Relocate Lettings and Capital Letters. In accordance with homeless guidance, councils who make a referral to another local authority should notify the receiving authority, but this is generally not happening in these cases, and our referral numbers, official numbers, remain low. Now, this isn't an issue that's unique to Durham County Council, as other members have pointed out. There's nearly a decade of press articles documenting cases of London boroughs, some London boroughs I might say, breaking the law and secretly relocating families. I want to thank my good and right honourable friend, the Deputy Prime Minister, for writing to Council Chief Executives to remind them of their legal obligations. But I must be candid, and I contend that Council Chief Executives know their legal responsibilities and they are choosing to break the law. What we need, Madam Deputy Speaker, is enforcement and accountability. So I'd like to ask the Minister directly, what practical steps will she take to end these unlawful practices? What sanctions will be imposed on councils that continue to intimidate families, disregard their legal obligations and fail to notify the receiving authorities? The families affected by these actions deserve better, and so do the communities asked to bear the burden of a broken system. County Durham, like many areas, faces its own housing challenges that were overlooked and ignored by the previous government. Our council budgets are overstretched. We have limited means to raise revenues due to a low council tax base, and service demands, especially for social services and SEND provision, is being overwhelmed. Our northeast mining communities are resilient, but we do not have the resources to absorb the fallout of the London housing crisis without additional support. Respectfully, I do not underestimate the task facing the Minister. The unlawful system of forcibly relocating vulnerable families through threats and intimidation was created by the previous government. Now I'm pleading with the Minister tonight not to allow that to persist under a Labour government. Councils who knowingly break the law need to be held to account, and I hope the Minister is going to explain how that is going to happen moving forward. Thank you.
Minister.